All right, here we go. Week 5. Gosh, what a crazy thing that is. Welcome. Repeat after me. I am here to be truly helpful. I am here to represent him who sent me. I do not need to worry about what to say or what to do. Because he who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes. Knowing he goes there with me. I will be healed as I let him teach me to heal. I'm really settling into that prayer. It was a struggle in the beginning. And I find so much comfort in that, getting the fuck out of the way. Really starting to find a lot of comfort in that. I'm really starting to settle into this process of just watching. There's nothing to fix. Nothing's gone wrong. It's actually all already happened. That's part of why there's nothing to do here. Because we can't do anything. We can't change anything. It's already done. We're just watching. Preferably, we're watching with Holy Spirit. There's a fight there, of course. There's a part of my mind that believes it's separate. And this is the ego. And then there's a part of my mind who remembers that it's not separate. And this is the Holy Spirit. And then there's this third part of my mind that gets to choose, gets to decide. Jesus asks us that we choose again, that we choose the Holy Spirit. And anytime we catch ourselves frustrated, stressed out, annoyed, it's simply because we've chosen the wrong teacher. We're choosing to see it through the eyes of the ego. Starting to get that. It's so simple. It's not easy. Every time I catch myself getting upset, I'm like, oh yeah, I just get to decide. It's just so simple. So again, I've had a couple of days just like, wow, this is so simple. Then I go into the ego backlash of, oh, simple is it? Yeah, we're just unwinding. We just need to look at it. We look at the insanity. And in that looking, it gets unwound for us. So amazing. How's your process going, Christine?
Um, I had like a great um practice today, and oh, my throat, there's resistance. Yeah, when I made my video the other night, there was resistance. It was all like thick and yeah. So my 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 journey with spirit has always been one of practical application from day one. From day one of the course. So like I would say when I was 30 years old, it was very clear to me, practical application, practical application. That was my launching point from ACIM. And it helped me that I was around people that knew the course really well. And whether I'm right or wrong here is irrelevant because it's how I experienced it and it's what it taught me. It taught me not to hide in the metaphysics. I felt like I was watching people hide in the metaphysics, like when the ego takes over spirituality. Like instead of pausing, how do I really feel? What do I really think? Let's just slather everything with a thick layer of juicy spiritual buttercream icing. And it drove me crazy. And I wanted it to look different. But of course, looking back, and it doesn't even matter if that's what was happening or if that's true or not. It was my perception, right? But it helped me see, don't do that. Like notice if that's the temptation. And so for me, it's always been practical application, and today was no different. Like today, a really practical situation arose where it I I just got to choose. I got to experience choosing, and I was on the phone with Andrew, and I can't actually tell if he's drinking or if he's just really struggling with the mind, because for him it all looks the same. Like my perception of it when I'm thinking about Andrew, it all looks the same to me, right? So so it can't be about the drinking. You know what I mean? It can't be about the drinking. And he just kind of trailed off and then hung up on me. And and I spiraled down the ego trap. Like, and it's very convincing thoughts, and the world would agree with me, like, why am I hanging around with this shit? Why am I putting up with it? Why would I stick around with this bullshit, So I watched my mind do it, and I knew that there was spiraling. I knew what was going on, and but the truth was like swooping in. The truth was swooping in. And then, of course, my phone goes off every half hour for that lesson, right? And today's lesson is a different one than you're on because you're not doing it by the day, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So today's lesson, and of course, when I'm spiraling into ego thought patterns, right? Why can't this look different? Can't he just fucking get his fucking shit together? You know, um, there is no conflict. And that's what happened. Like my alarm goes off, and I'm like, "Oh, fuck the lesson!" Oh, so I know it's for me. I know it's exactly what I need, right? And it
Yeah.
goes off, and this is it's what I read, and I just started laughing. There is no conflict, for my will is yours. And this is what I noticed. This And this is what happened. I was laughing, right? Because it's ridiculous. Watching the mind go insane is just, and it's an opportunity to see it as utterly ridiculous. And and just it today I was shown that spiraling like that didn't have the same impact. It wasn't as convincing. It didn't have the same amount of teeth. That lock in like jaws, and that was really nice to to be willing to see it differently, and then have like be shown that it's not what you think it is, and embrace it and laugh about it. And there's this thing happening where it's like I keep being shown is nothing is as serious as you think it is. Nothing is as serious. Because I'll be on the phone with Andrew and he'll be spiraling. And I just will start laughing, or something will happen. And it's like, no, that's not what's happening. That's actually not what's happening. So today was a great practical application experience. And then later in the day, we're on the phone again, and the same thing happens. He spirals and hangs up on me. and I don't even remember what happened after that. Maybe not much of anything. I think maybe I just went right back to watching Smallville. There's something really helpful for me about watching Smallville in the last 10 days, you know? And I just literally hung up the phone, went to the remote and hit play. There was nothing that happened in between. There was no like, oh, let's freak out for 10 seconds before I hit play. No, it wasn't like that, right? So really appreciating the lesson of spirit showing me, do you notice the hold it has on you isn't the same, the grip isn't the same, the teeth aren't the same. Do you notice how it's easier? It's not as deep, it's not hitting as hard, and you're coming back faster. Yeah, yeah. If I ever wondered why it looks this way for me, that would be it. Like I still fucking hate that it has to look this way. I do. I'm judging how it looks. But I know the truth. You know, I do. I know the truth. Yeah.
And once you know, you can't unknow, right? Like once you really start seeing it, it just becomes so obvious. That's what I'm really noticing. Yeah. Yeah, I love that practical application. I'm really new here, and but I really hear a lot of unpractical stuff coming from A Course in Miracles students. I'm a member of quite a few groups, and there's just like I'm hugely into practical, and if it's not practical, I don't want to do it. And and there is a lot of people getting caught up in the metaphysics of it as like a way to not actually practice it, like put it into practice. Let's not just get all caught up in the metaphysics of it. I think one of the teachers I listen to says, uses the analogy, don't smack yourself upside the head with the course. And I think that's what they mean. Like, don't get all caught up in the metaphysics of it. Like, just practice the practicality of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, because for so many years, for like a decade, even more, I used it as an oracle, which means for me, I was so desperate in the moment, um, for help, that I was very open to what I would read, right? So I would just take the book, show me what I need, like the most helpful thing for me to hear. Please show me that. That's what I used to do. And then I would open
Mm-hmm.
it and then just read, not a lot, just like a couple sentences or a paragraph. And there, because I was feeling so desperate in the moment, it, it just, I was never lost in the metaphysics. because I wanted to apply it to the moment, to what I was feeling in the moment, so that was my practice for a long time. And then something that was really helpful for me also was, I think it was the first time I met David, and he said, be very, very clear and honest with yourself in the moment, and ask yourself, what do I really think? What do I really think? Like, we're talking honesty on a level that is like probably going to feel brutal at first, right? So what do I
Mhm.
really think? And then what do I really feel? What do I really feel? So lots of pausing, right? And then hand it over, put it on the altar. You know,
Mhm.
that is so practical. It is so practical. And
Mhm.
I know that it's the path. I know that it's the way through, because I remember years ago sitting on my couch having a conversation with spirit, going, I'm doing it. Like, I really am doing it. Like, I'm sharing how I really feel. I'm sharing what I really think. Like, I'm being very specific. And then I heard, you're forgetting to hand it over. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh shit. Oh my God. I was doing all this work and holding on to it. Like, what's my intention? Is my intention to hold on to it inadvertently, or is it to let it go, to hand it over, to give it back? Like, you know, I mean, that's practical. That
Mhm.
was so practical for me,
Mhm.
because I would apply it to very specific situations. Why do I react this specific way with my mother? Why do I have this reaction to this trigger around sex? What, like, it was so specific in how I applied the metaphysics. Like, it was so practical.
Thank God. Thank God that we have this practical way out.
Yeah. I have to admit, the other day, like, I know there will come a moment where I'll be asked to put the course aside, drop
Mm.
this course. Like, you don't
Mhm.
need this.
Mhm.
It's time to leave it, let it go. It even says that in the course, something about
Does.
that, like,
Yep. Yep.
and let this course go. I have to let
Yep.
everything go, including this course, right?
Yep.
And I I don't know, how it came in. It just came in, and then what I noticed is, kind of panicked a little bit. It's so bizarre, because I mean, I've had my book since I was 30, and I was never super attached to it the way I notice other people have been attached to it. I just go to it when I need it, and really trust it when I would go to it. But it was never a special relationship. Never. But I've noticed that since there was guidance to do the lessons, and I've been doing them since March, since then, somehow this special relationship has developed. It must have, because when I just entertained for 8 seconds that I would be asked to let it go, I did one of these in my mind, like, oh shit, what do I do? What do I do then? What do And I was like, oh, that is interesting. That's a really interesting. So, and I do, spirit gives me these little, by the way, this is going to unfold at some point, and I've gotten those quite often. So clearly it's going to happen at some point. And I'm looking at it right now. Like, my eyeballs are, looking over at my special book, where all the answers are. Yeah. I don't know how you feel about the course, or how you
Well,
use it, or how you're guided to use it, because you're on a
it's
different
interesting.
lesson. You're not
Yeah,
even doing the lesson according to the days, right? So you've got your own experience with it.
yeah. I was actually just warned by Kenneth Wapnick the other day in one of his videos about not allowing your relationship with Jesus to become a special relationship. And um yeah, it just kind of hit me like, oh, I somehow I didn't realize that that could happen. And so it was just kind of like a warning. So I'm really questioning that. Like, is that what's going on here? Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm not doing it the way other people do it. I'm not doing it quote unquote properly. I'm not doing it in a um yeah, I don't know. I use it as an oracle in a lot of ways. I have like the lessons out. I started on my birthday, but I'm not doing one every day. I'm like really stuck on lesson 63. I've been here for 3 days. I don't feel the need to move on right now. I'm just really absorbing this. Forgiveness is my only function here. Um, I listen to a lot of YouTube videos about the course. I've watched I watch everything that I can. I have a couple of teachers that I follow. Um, so I get a lot more about the course from David Hoffmeister and Kenneth Wapnick are my two main ones, and then I also listen to Keith Kavanaugh a lot. So yeah, I mean, I like everybody. I've got my own unique way of going about it, and of course, I'm not doing any of it properly. And my ego tries to tell me that all the time. I'm not doing it properly, but I am doing it in a very guided way. Um, I talk to Jesus every day. I talk to Holy Spirit every day. I'm constantly getting out of the way, whether it's with the healer's prayer or the other prayer that I use that just says, I'm out of the way. You show me the way. So it is very guided. It's very much an oracle. Um, yeah, it's interesting. I I can't imagine like if I were to have some thoughts right now about letting it go, I would start to have a panic too. Because like I said with Calico a few days ago, I'm a recovering self-help addict. And so I've just taken all of that and like I'm obsessed with the course. I used to be obsessed with that and it's like my new obsession. Um yeah, so it's interesting. It's an interesting it's an interesting path. It's an interesting way of being in the world. Yeah. I don't talk to a lot of other people about it. Like yeah, I don't know. It feels very guided. It feels very guided the way I'm doing it.
Yeah, I remember my longest stay with Living Miracles in Utah, and it wasn't that long. It was 10 weeks, and and eventually Jason came from Mexico and was there for a little while, and I just remember talking in the hallway with him, and he said to me, it was so great, um, because he says to me, "Have you actually like read the course and done the lessons and stuff?" And I started laughing. I was like, "No, Jason, I actually haven't." And um, he just started laughing. He's like, "Yeah, some people they they just don't need to. It just looks different, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We all have our own, yeah, like our own. Like I feel like I've been tugged along through it in a way that will work for me.
Yeah.
And
Well,
anytime I
it's
tried to do it different, it was no. It was a
Mm-hmm.
no go. It was a full
Mm-hmm.
stop. Go put it away.
Well, it's a highly individualized curriculum. And thank God, because they've got to meet you where you're at, where you think you're at, and we're all, thinking we're at different places. So it's really all just so perfect the way it's got to be different for everybody.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so similar at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, I know for me, it's actually, oh wow, I'm just seeing that like right now. Um, I think it's where I was taught to feel. Because if I'm reading a lesson or whatever, and I notice that I'm trying to follow it intellectually, it's not good. It's not a good experience. And then I realize, oh, I'm trying to think my way through the lesson. No, no, no. And it's a practice of dropping into feeling. Like I feel the lesson. It may seem like I'm reading, but I'm feeling the lesson as I go. And I know I'm not present if I'm not feeling it. And that's how it's been for me from day one. It was always a feeling experience. And it was also familiar.
Mm.
It was always familiar. It was never, what the fuck, and then overwhelmed and then put it away. It was never like that. It was never ever like that. And so it really taught me I have to drop into feeling to be able to follow this. And it's the same practice I have with Andrew. If I'm trying to follow him with my brain, it's a no. It's actually totally no. Because I can't actually follow him with intellect. I have to drop into feeling every time. Even if I don't, I start to go mad. Like there's a madness and it happens really fast. So yeah, everything's showing up to remind me to drop into feeling. Drop into feeling. Yeah.
And how do you do that? What does that look like for you, Christine? How do you drop into feeling?
Well, the first thing that happens is I'll notice I feel disconnected from the words, and, and,
Hmm.
and I'll notice I don't understand. And so I pause. It happens fast now, right? But so I pause. It's the discomfort that I notice, and I worked on being conscious for many years of my discomfort. Am I willing to be uncomfortable for healing? Am I willing to be
Hmm.
uncomfortable for healing? And
Hmm.
so that is a very familiar um, reminder for me. How willing am I to be uncomfortable? How
Hmm.
uncomfortable am I willing to be for healing? And so I get uncomfortable right away. And so it forces a pause. Yeah. And it happens with other things too, not just with the course, but it happened with when I was in the States with Living Miracles for those 10 weeks. Something dropped in, which was, you're going to do some art. I'm not artistic. Like I could give a shit about art, especially abstract art. Like I think I had some judgment. Like if I can do it, it's not fucking art, okay? Like that was my, it's just a bunch of blobs or whatever, like, and it was too stimulating. Abstract art was too fucking stimulating for me. It's just a mess of loudness. So obviously there was some judgment there, right? And all of a sudden, like from one day to the next, I started doodling, and then it just grew from there. It grew and grew and grew and grew from there. And it was all of a sudden abstract, this abstract artwork. And part of the process, what I noticed was if I start to think about the color I'm using or where the mark on the page is going, and if I try to plan or control, it's the same thing. I have to stop because this is a flow experience, not a control experience. I'm not at the wheel. This is for healing. So it's a flow experience. So I would notice that same discomfort. Oh, I'm not listening. Like I'm not pausing and listening. I'm trying to be in charge. So same thing. Just willingness to notice.
Hmm.
Yeah. And of course, how often have I heard David say this? You too, probably. Do I want to be right or do I want to be happy? Am I willing to be
Yeah.
wrong about every single thing? How
Yeah.
willing am I to be wrong about every single thing? Even where this dot on my piece of artwork is going to go. Am I willing to be wrong about what I think about that? You know, it's humbling. It's really humbling.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's what it was for. And it's all connected. It's all the same thing. Listening to Andrew, reading the course, doing the art. It's all the same thing.
Yeah, it's amazing how it is all the same thing, isn't it? Like it can feel different, but it's not. It's not different. It's just the same. It's the same, everything.
Yeah, I remember the first time, some of those living miracles people said things to me. When you're cracked open and then Holy Spirit gives you somebody that says the perfect thing to you and it just whooshes in. I remember going to Kirsten and asking her about the triggers I have with sex. Like, I really, like, what the fuck? Like, what is happening? What's going, like, the, there's like, and she's holding the space. And of course, she responds not to really what's being said on the surface, but to what is being expressed underneath. That's
Mhm.
what always gets addressed with mighty companions, right? What's really underneath. And she said something like, yeah, this trigger you have with sex, it's not about you. It's not actually about you. It's just a trigger in the mind. And I was like, oh, it was like the first time I could actually feel the non personal nature of healing. There's only one mind, there isn't 7 billion minds tripping up on things. There's only one mind, right? And and then it happened again and again. It was like I remember expressing about guilt, and it was like, it's not your guilt, it's the guilt. It's the guilt in the mind that's just there. It's just something that's there. Shame. It's not your shame, it's the shame.
Mhm.
Holy shit. Like that really started to really soften things
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
the belief in this is my personal thing that I've been inflicting on myself. This is my belief. It's my pain. It's my whatever. It's not true. And it helps to get the reminder, take the personal out of it. This is just your role for the sonship, for the awakening. That's it. This is just your role. Oh, okay. Okay, I'll take the sex issue role, and I'll, you know what I mean? Like, I'll take this one and I'll take that one. So such a huge difference. And I remember something else too from one day to the next. Um, why? Asking why. The amount of space in the mind that why takes up is immense. It's like Titanic immense. And I remember the experience of, wow, I don't have to ask why about anything ever again. It's just a trap. And then all this space, I felt it over the seeming timeline of a couple of weeks, like all this space just opened up in my mind. Because why? I like a Titanic sized hole, left. Like it just was so brilliant. And then all this other stuff that needed to get looked at started streaming in, you know? Yeah.
I love that, taking the personal out of it. It's not your shame. It's not your sex issue. It is the collective. It's one mind, one ego. And yeah, it's not personal. It's not, it's not my guilt. It's the guilt.
Yeah. Thinking it's personal is actually just another sticky ego.
Yeah, that's one of the, yeah,
It's like flypaper. It's like,
fuck yeah, 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 it's not personal. I'm going to put that in the description of this. What was oh yeah, a practical application of A Course in Miracles, and recognizing it's not personal. Because I think like we can get caught up in that, the personalness of it, this because the whole thing is very personal, right? Because that's the way the ego has made it. It is all very personal.
yeah, I think we believe that our experiences have really happened. Our
Yeah,
experiences are facts that have
yeah,
happened. They
yeah,
feel very real. They feel very
yeah,
personal.
fuck yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, and it's all just a trap. It's actually,
yeah. It's just part of the illusion.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, David, I don't know if you've heard David talk about this, but David uses a lot of parables, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And he was contacted by somebody who was using Siri. I don't know, not Siri. What's their
Spiri.
Spiri? Thank you.
Yeah, Spiri.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Somebody contacted him who was using Spiri, and what they said was Spiri cannot tell the difference between like fact and, you know what I mean. And David's
Yeah,
like,
I did see this one. Yeah, it's good.
"Isn't great?"
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
we believe it
Because there is no
happened. We believe
difference.
it's
Yeah.
fact,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
not. It's just a trap. But it's such a beautiful story of what the mind holds on to and how it's so convincing.
Yeah.
These things, but this happened to me. It's a fact.
Yeah.
I was hit by a car that happened to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it really didn't actually. Like, that's in my story, right? Like,
Yeah. 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 It's very personal. Yeah.
well, I want to share this actually. So there has been in the past like 10 days, there has been a softness that has descended, that has
Mm.
just enveloped everything in my mind. And one of the areas I'm really noticing this, where there's less teeth, right? Well, actually, I'm noticing it everywhere. But like, let's take the father experience and put that on the table. Um, I think I mentioned in one of the Calico videos that my father was able to send me a message, even though I had disabled his ability to send me messages, but some got through anyway, like months and months later, right? So I was like, oh, okay, let's see how this feels. And so uh, he can send me messages now. I don't get an alert. I find that much gentler if I don't know that he's texting me, because I feel like I will go rageful if I know that he's texting me and he's been drinking. So I just give myself that, right. But what I noticed is, uh, when I feel to go check to see if he sent me anything, and then I do. And one of the last things he sent me, and I know that he's been drinking because he can't type right. It's all gobbledygook, right? But one of the things he sent was, I get more love from my cat. And I I just started laughing. And it was like it was so nice to laugh at a text, instead of being raged out like the Hulk, when something comes through. So like I'm just really appreciating this trigger that is not really about the father daughter relationship. It is not about that, because I feel it in all these other areas. It feels exactly the same in all these other areas. And um yeah, I mean, I think there's still forgiveness, obviously, to walk through, but it's really nice to have some softness break through, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, it's brilliant when you can see enough to giggle about it. You can
Yeah.
see through that illusion and
Yeah.
just see.
It's a tough belief there. Like it's a sticky belief that I'm responsible for someone else's peace of mind or well-being. That's the belief, as I see it right now, underneath all of it getting nudged. It's awful. It is not a fun belief. So you know, it's getting poked a lot.
I'm looking forward to that. I've got a lot of mummy issues. I'm looking forward to that, when I can see past my ego story, when I can see, because I'm starting to see it with a lot of different areas in my life, but this is a sticky point still where I'm carrying this grievance against the dream character mother figure that I've created. I'm looking forward to the giggle. I know it's there. I can't see it yet. But at least that's funny. Like at least I can see. At least I'm giggling at the fact that I can't see it yet.
Isn't it wild? Like to
Yeah.
be aware that it's I assigned them the role. They're playing it perfectly. I made them up. I made the grievance up, and yet it still feels like a fucking hot poker in the eyeball.
Yeah. 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 It's crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
What
And
was
I
it?
keep,
Eckhart Tolle. I think it was Eckhart Tolle. A video is like, if you think you're doing really well, or if you think you're enlightened, or if you really want to know how you're really doing, go spend some time with your family, and then you'll
yeah.
see.
Yeah. Go spend some time with your family. Exactly. Go to Thanksgiving dinner. You think you're enlightened. Yeah, it's the best test.
Oh God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have some mother stuff. It's easing. I feel it easing. I feel there's less guilt because my mom's boyfriend died very recently, and and she reacted right away with like, "Can you come out?" And I really paused because I cannot people please this shit. Because if I do, it is gonna be awful, right? W- Of course, she's not a course student, right? So I had to really pause and I was like, I'm just gonna really pause into that one and see how it looks. I'm gonna do that. And she was like, okay. And she was still he didn't die at home. They were actually visiting friends across the province, like they were in Ontario. So he died on their trip. And so there's all these steps you need to walk through when you don't die at home, right? And then all the other steps, canceling credit cards, vehicle insurance, like so every single thing that's in his name needs to get canceled or moved over to hers, right? And she's the inheritor of everything, right? So I felt like I knew there was going to be really important steps, like really important Holy Spirit steps to walk through, right? So so I had to really pause and watch the guilt over realizing that I might not even be going to Ontario at any point. I don't know what this is going to look like. So and it was really beautiful because I saw the in my mind, and then like the daughter expectation. Somebody fucking died. Like, shouldn't I be? You know what I mean? Like the worldly expectation and everything. And so, and she made it home and uh started the process, and it became very clear to me and her too. Actually, like that reflection back was great. I was like, "You have a lot of things on your plate right now to walk through." And she's like, "Yeah, I really do." And it was so funny because we were on the phone and people were trying to call her, and then somebody showed up at the door and they were honking outside. It was like, "We need to get off the phone. Like, this is not the phone call that needs to be happening right now." I was laughing in my mind because Spirit was like, "Yeah, you don't need to worry about this. You don't need to worry about it." So that was really nice. That reminder of, okay, there's some guilt, but we don't actually know how this is going to look yet. So that's what I find I just keep saying whenever we're on the phone, like, do what you have to do. We don't need to plan, you know? Like I really feel like, when the mind wants to fill time because it's afraid to have nothing going on because then it just has itself to contend with. That's what
Mhm.
I feel like she wants to do. And I feel like I can't be a part of it, you know? So I haven't seen her yet. I haven't gone anywhere. And then there was extra guilt because she's like, "Why don't you come here for a week and then we'll go to Mexico?" And I was like, "Mom, the only reason I'm going to Mexico is to drop in really deep. Like that would be the purpose of going to Mexico. That's, you know." And then of course, a week ago, this Mexico Andrew thing swoops in. I was like, "Oh my God." So that means I have to tell my mother, "Yeah, I'm going to Mexico. I'm just not going with you. I'm going with Andrew." Like, holy fuck. Like, oh my God, that's a lot. So I don't actually know what anything is going to look like. But she also shared with me somebody else wants to go on a trip with her. And I was just like, "Mom, just go do that, like go do that." Like it was so great. And I know the perfect thing will unfold, but I'm watching my mind want it to be easy. I want it to be trigger free and easy, you know? But the good part is she actually did come to Mexico when I was at Namaste. She came for about a week, so she got this really interesting, deep experience. So that was really nice. That was a really nice opening, you know? Yeah. So it's just a lot up in the air right now. Like it really a lot.
Yeah. One of the videos that I've watched over and over and over again is David's Divine Providence video. And I love the idea of being clueless, carefree, and cared for. Yeah. And to just be so comfortable with things being up in the air. I'm not there yet.
Yeah. I know that's I'm being asked to do that right now.
Yeah.
And I've Spirit has been showing me for the last few years. Have you noticed that everything has actually been provided? You haven't been working and everything has been provided. And
Mm-hmm.
it's true. I have this demonstration, you know, um, and then something happened the other night and it was just very clear. Like the next steps are like about trusting that you're going to get what you need. And it's time to let go of what you think you need and what you would want and be open to what is I'm trying to show you. Like it's very specific instructions of what these next steps are for.
Mm-hmm.
At least partly part of the learning is really like yeah, you're at a crossroads and I want you to go this way. And
Yeah.
it is just let go of the reins. Like literally let go of the reins. You're mostly there anyway. Just let go of the reins and trust. This is like a big trust walk. Yeah, happening. And like
Yep. I
notice.
feel that too.
Hmm.
And notice when you're not feeling it. Notice when you're out of alignment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when do you leave?
Oh God, you said that so matter of factly. And in my mind, I was just leaning into I might not even be going anywhere. And then you say, well, it's oh God. Um, there are some interesting things unfolding in terms of the timeline. Andrew has two little dogs, and he has a roommate. The roommate's gone this week. And then he goes away again, um, second week in December, or something like that. And of course, he'll be looking after the dogs while we're gone, right? So there's a seeming timeline of okay, when Todd is done traveling, then we'll go. So it's still about 2.5, 3 weeks away. We don't have any tickets or anything like that. Like it's I don't know. I don't know. Part of it is just Yeah, I do. I feel it. I feel this like not getting ahead of myself in terms of what will may or may not unfold,
Mhm.
and noticing if I have a preference to what may or may not unfold. And it's so much gentler than it used to be. Those kinds of things. It's so much gentler. Yeah. I don't know. But I think I'm gonna be going over there tomorrow morning. So we'll see how that goes.
Mm.
But I feel, you know, there was um just the keep showing up experience. Just keep showing up, just keep loving him, keep giving. And then that moment where it was like, I'm all in. I'm all in. And it was a realization. I heard the words, and there was all this like, there were the words were an experience, like a really soft, gentle experience that just washed over the doubt thoughts. I have to be all in for this healing process. I have to be all in. My only option is to be all in. Yeah. Like there's no room for humming and hawing. There's no room for hesitation. There's no room for ducking and dodging. There's no room for straddling the fence. There's just my pain tolerance for that stuff now is so low.
Mhm.
It's so low.
Yeah, I think that all in is like in the beginning of the course, it says this course will either be fully accepted or not. So I think that's just part of if you're not all in, then you're not in. It's got to be all.
Yeah, David talks about even 1%.
Yeah,
If you're even withholding 1%. I
because
mean,
that's where the ego will draw so much fuel from that.
yeah. He
Yeah.
has a great um analogy with a deck of cards. Do you ever hear him talk about that? It's like he uses a deck of cards as an analogy for all the thoughts that he wanted to hold on to. The like the relationship with the parents thought, like, all the thoughts, and and David has had many conversations with Jesus, right? That's how it looks for him.
Hmm.
He'll hear things. And so Jesus is like, you have to hand every single thing over to me. And so it's like there's the deck of cards. Each card represents an attachment to the world in whatever form that looks. Okay, I can give this one. I can give, my education. Okay, I can give you that one. Or this job. Okay, yeah, I'll give you that one. And then going through the deck, and it's like, well, can I just keep? I forget which one, the mother or the grandmother relationship, whatever. Can I just keep this one? Can I just keep this? No, you have to hand that one over too. And the beautiful thing, and now I've experienced this, is you hand it over, and then it gets retranslated and given back to you.
Mhm.
Yeah. So then you get to walk through this retranslated experience with Jesus holding your hand. Like, I'll walk you through it now. Before you were doing it alone and it was messy. Now I'm going to walk you through it. You handed it to me. Now we're going to do it together, you know? Like, it's a very different, very different experience. But I love that. Like, can I just hold on to this one? Can I just have this the way I want it? Whatever the this is. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can just see how like the sneakiness of the ego would just use that one card that you're desperately trying to hold on to. There would just be so much fuel there. Yeah, we have to give it all up,
Yeah.
all or nothing. Mm. I'm ready. Yeah, very determined to see this differently. It's been an hour. Got anything else going on you want to talk about tonight?
No, I don't think so. You?
Mm, no, no, I feel pretty empty of stirrings. Pretty empty of stirrings right now. There's no yes buts at this second.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, thank you for showing up again. Thank you for having this practical conversation. I love getting practical with it because there seems to be a lot of I'm listening to a book called The End of Death. And I'm really quite sensitive to the non-practicality of it. And so um I like these practical conversations. So thank you. Because I fully agree with David on that. Like it has to be practical. Otherwise, what's the point? Otherwise, what's the point? So that's what this conversation has been about, the practicality of it. It's so practical. Yeah. Just work with what's in front of you. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you to anyone who's been listening. I love you all. And I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.